Okay, so we're finishing off. Coincidentally, my Mishna Chabura is finishing off also Seder Moed with Maseches Chagiga, nice and close to the Daf Yomi folks. I'll be carrying on, moving on into Seder Nashim with Yevamos right now after davening. If anyone wants to start out the new Seder with me, please sit down and join me. It's easy to join in it's a chabur in which you can learn the Mishnah and retain the knowledge long term. So I hope you'll give it a try. Anyway, the end of Chagiga is referring to the times of the Yom Tov of the Chagim, when Amei Haaretz were afforded a special believability about their Tumah and Tara status, because the rest of the year, okay, so a little bit more about looking after Tumah and Tara and things. So when it comes to Yom Tov, then we believe them because they're now they're careful. Okay, so the second last Mishnah that we have is somebody opens up a barrel. If you have a shopkeeper in Yerushalayim who's opened up a barrel of wine, or he's started some dough, these are all things that we're concerned that the Amei Haaretz generally they might touch it and they would make it tameh. Okay, Al Gav Haregel. So because it was during Yom Tov time, he opened it up and he wasn't worried about all the Amei Haaretz who are coming into his shop. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Igmor. So now it comes after Yom Tov. Is he allowed to carry on treating his wine or his bread as if it was tahor, because in Taklis it's had all these Amei Haaretz touching it? So Rabbi Yehuda says, okay, since we trusted them during the Yom Tov, they've all gone home now. He's sealed them up and it's all okay. So we let him carry on treating them as tahor. Chachamim omrim lo yigmor, but the majority opinion of people of the Chachamim say that it's a time period. The time period is up, and it's and he can no longer trust the Amei Haaretz. After the Yom Tov was finished, they would go through the whole Azara and be matahir all of the kalim, because all the time the Amei Haaretz have been touching things all over. During the Yom Tov, we say, okay, we trust that they're tahor, but lemafreya, once the Yom Tov is finished, we go back and say, sorry, we actually don't really trust them, so we're going to go and be matahir everything. Avar regel b'yom shishi. But what happens if the Yom Tov finishes on Thursday and you just got Friday before Yom Tov? Lo hayu ma'avirim. They wouldn't go start being matahir everything on Friday. We play cover the Shabbos, because the Kohanim want to they want to go and prepare for Shabbos. They don't want to be messing around with all the kalim. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, af lo b'yom shachamishi she'en hakohanim penuyim. Also, if the Yom Tov finished on a Wednesday and when you've just got Thursday and Friday, the Kohanim are still busy with other cleanup jobs. They don't need also to have the Tara of the Mikdash thrust on them at the same time. The final Mishnah, Ketzad Ma'avirin al Taras Ha'azara. So how do they matire everything in the Azara? Matvilin es hakelim shehayu b'mikdash. They would tovel all the things that were in the Mikdash. V'omrim lahem hizaru shelo tigu b'shulchan. They say, be careful, don't touch the shulchan, because that's going to be difficult to tovel. And also, I don't think they had a substitute shulchan. Utzitamuhu. All of the other kalim in the mikdash, they had duplicates, they had spare ones, so that if these ones became tameh, they could bring in other ones. So they would be able to bring substitutes in case it became tameh. Everything inside the mikdash needed tevila, except for the earth altar. That's the one where the mizbeach in the chatzah where they would bring all of the korbanot, and the golden altar inside the heichal. Rabbi Eliezer says the reason why they didn't need tevila was because they were attached to the ground, so then the karka is not susceptible to tumah, says Rabbi Eliezer. Say no, the reason is not because they're attached to the ground, but because they are just merely plated, and what's underneath it is wood. So the plating is battle to the wood, and the wood is pshita klayetz, and therefore and that's the reason why it's not susceptible to tumah. Okay, and that ends Maseches Chagiga and Seder Moed. Hadran Alach Seder Moed v'Hadran Alach Datan Alach Seder Moed v'Datan Alach not minach Seder Moed v'lo minan lo b'al nedarim v'lo b'al b'asi. Hadran Alach Seder Moed Hadran Alach Datan Alach Seder Moed v'Datan Alach not Seder Moed bedeutet nicht sich heminan lo alma haden lo alma ati hadran alach Seder Moed hadran khalan data alach Seder Moed was data khalan lo ist nicht heminan Seder Moed lo nicht sich heminan lo alma haden lo alma ati Hayab na Adonai lehenik divrei Torah secha v'pinu v'yos am chabes Yisrael v'niya kulanu anachnu v'tzetzenu v'tzetzei chabes Yisrael kulanu yodei shemecha v'lam dei sarsecha v'shma ma'oi v'secha kmeni v'tzvasecha ki l'olam hi li יהי ליבי שמים בחוקך למען לא אבוש לעולם לא אשכח פיקודך כי בם חייסני ברוך אתה אדוני לעמדני חוקך אמן 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 צא לבעד מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולבשנו ששמת חוקנו מיושבי בית המדרש ולא יושבי קרנוס שאנו משקיעים בהן משקיעים אנו משקיעים לדבר תורה והם משקיעים לדברים בטלים אנו עמלים והם עמלים אנו עמלים ומקבלים שכר והם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר אנו רצים והם רצים אנו רצים לחיי העולם הבא והם רצים לדברי שחס שנאמר ואתה אלוהים תורידם לדברי שחס אנשי דמים ומרמה לא יחצו בימיהם ואני אבטח בך. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני לחי כשם שעזרתנו לסיים סדר מועד כן תעזרנו להשכיל סדרים וספרים אחרים לסיים ללמוד וללמד לשמור לעשות ולכן is כל דברי ששמו תורסך ביאבה וזכוס כל התנאים וסמידי חכמים הנזכרים בסדר מועד תעמוד לנו ולזרענו שלא תמוש התורה מפינו ומפי זרענו ולזרע זרענו עד עולם בקויים בנו בהסלחך צנחה עושך ושוכבך תשמור עליך והקיצוץ ההיא תשיחך כי בי ירבו ימים ויוסיפו לך שנות חיים אורך ימים בימינה ובשמאלה עושר בכבוד אדוני לעמותנו אדוני ברך שמו בשלום יסדה שמי רבה אסי בישראל לעצמי אמצעי לעצמי לחיי עלמא ולבני התקנת לירושלים ולמשך להיכלה במגבי ומכד הוא פנה לא קרב המערה ולעשה הוא פנה בשמיים לאשרה וימליך מלכות שבריחו במלכות סביבקרי וחיי יכון ביום יכון וחיי לכל בית ישראל והגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן Mishna say, Yisada Shnei B'Kushav Rechov, Every Father Chasa V'Shir Asat Shukhasav Nechmas Adam Ren B'Alamadi Ramen, Al Yisrael Al Rechnan Al Shamtito Al Chasha Samadin Akuman Nishna Daskin Barai Sadi Baksa Kadish Hadem B'Di B'Cholatza B'Yatzar Yelo Ano Kon Shlam Radam V'China Tis V'Rachne V'Chai Arich Muzaneri V'Chai Sadi Shemai V'Chanan Kadam V'N Shmaya V'Yomru Amen Shlam Rabin Shemai V'Chai Atolim Alim V'Chol Yisrael V'Yomru Amen V'Seh Shalom V'Yomru Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Chol Yisrael V'Yomru Amen
Mazel tov. Where do you want to start today?
So start from Chagiga Gimel Daled.
Okay. Yeah. Gimel Daled. Okay. So. Oh, come on. They put the program in. Okay. The stringency of Teruma is as follows. In Judea, the Amaretz are believed concerning the Tahara of wine and oil throughout the year, and during the wine pressing and olive pressing seasons, the Amaretz are believed even concerning Teruma. If the wine pressing and olive pressing seasons have passed, and they brought him a barrel of wine of Teruma, he should not accept it from them, but he may set it aside for the next wine pressing season. However, if he told him, within it I have separated a fourth of a log of kodesh, he is believed. Concerning jugs of wine or jugs of oil that are still mingled, they are believed about them during the wine pressing and the olive pressing season, and even for 70 days prior to the wine pressing season. From Modi'in inward, they are believed concerning earthenware vessels. From Modi'in outward, they are not believed. If the potter selling the pots came inward of Modi'in, regarding the very potter, the very pots, and the very purchases, he is believed. But if he left, he is not believed. Tax collectors who entered a house, and likewise thieves who returned utensils they had stolen, are believed to say, we did not touch them. In Jerusalem, they are believed concerning Kodesh the entire year, and during the festival season, they are believed even concerning the Truma. If one opens his barrel or begins using his...
Okay, so that's it. The opening of the barrel, that's what I did this morning for the Siyum. Okay, Okay, so I've already done the first two Mishnayos, so let's go into Yevamos.
We're not going to do a Moed Katan tomorrow, then, or we're going to do it at
Oh,
Kazar?
we'll come back to Moed. We're doing Moed Katan. Is that right? We're doing Moed Katan. Yes, we're in Moed Katan. We'll come back to that just after Yevamos.
And Chagiga, we're gonna do these two tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do Chazar on those two last ones and Chagiga tomorrow.
So I have it in place. Okay.
Okay.
Yevamos. Okay, Yevamos. Okay.
All right, Yevamos.
Aleph.
Okay, my favorite. Honestly, this is for some reason my brain works in a perverse way that I actually really try to enjoy Yevamos, because these cases are so far-fetched. A lot of these cases are really far-fetched, but there's some very clear rules, and once you've got the rules in your head, you'll be able to take any case in Yevamos and say, I can tell you the halacha. It's simple, because this is how it's going to put together. All right. So
when I was in Dubai, and the Torah guides were telling us about the people who marry 4, 5, 6 wives, that this was very much in my mind. I was thinking about it. They all live in the same house and all this kind of, it's like very weird. But Yevamos was in my mind,
So, okay, so the basic law, just to refresh us before we start actually going into the Mishnah, is that when you have a man who is married and chas v'shalom, he dies childless, I will take the chas v'shalom as read for every time, because because we've got so many people dying inside of Maseches Yevamos, if we say chas v'shalom, the ashir is going to be twice as long. Okay, so if the man dies and he's childless now, and he has a brother, if he has a surviving brother, then his brother has a mitzvah to be miyabim his wife, to marry the wife, and have children through her, which is a kiyum of the brother's name. And we'll see there are certain details of this, that if he marries him, he actually inherits his brother's estate, and also. What else did I want to say there? Got what I wanted to say. Right, if the brother does not want to, then he has to give a chalitza. It can be done by any of the brothers, but they have to have been alive during the brother's lifetime. So it can't be that if the husband dies, and then a brother is born to him after he dies. That brother is not a connection for yibum or chalitza. Okay, now if the man who died has multiple wives, then yibum on one of them or chalitza on one of them frees the others. So you don't have to do yibum to all of them, just one. Right. Now, where things get tricky with yibum is that normally this is a relationship that would be forbidden on pain of kares. Right. It's a major erva, and the children would be mamzerim. To marry a brother's wife, shelo b'makom mitzvah, is an erva, and it's a yaharig v'al yavor and whatever. So this is so you've got some very fine rules that on the one that under specific circumstances it's a mitzvah, and under specific circumstances it's a yaharig v'al yavor. Okay, so with that in mind, what you have is a situation that if you have multiple wives, you can have a situation where one of the wives is an erva to a brother for a different reason other than Eishes Ach. Eishes Ach is obviously overridden because that's the mitzvah of Yibum is to marry your brother's wife. Okay, but there are other possible arayos that mean you wouldn't be able to, the brother would not be allowed to marry this woman. For example, if it's his wife's sister, that's the most common one that we see in the Masechta, is his wife's sister is also asset to him. And therefore, that's not going to be overridden by Yibum. Only Eishes Ach is overridden by Yibum, not Achos Isha. Okay, so, and there are several other relationships like that. Now, let's say the brother has two wives, one of whom is the surviving brother's sister-in-law through his wife, and the other one is just unrelated. So the unrelated one is is pater from Yibum if it's just this one surviving brother. Why? Because once one wife is an erva, then the tzara is the co-wife.
Right.
And tzara is also pater. He's not allowed to marry her because once he's asked to one of the wives, he's asked to all of the wives. Okay. So now there are 15 relationships that are possible that would make the co-wives prohibited to also to the brother. Okay. So 15 nashim potros.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you one question. If the purpose of the purpose is to marry the wife, all right, the dead person's wife, is to carry on his name. The children should carry on. Should have children, and the children should carry on his name.
Yes.
Right. Okay. But if the wife already has children, is it necessary they carry?
If the wife has children from a previous marriage, say.
Well, the husband just died.
Yes.
So she has children from this husband.
No, then there's no yibum. There's no yibum.
There's nothing there because the name is being carried on already.
If the dead man has children, there's no mitzvah. It's finished.
No mitzvah, right. Okay.
The only mitzvah is where he died childless.
Right. That's someone to get clear. Okay.
Okay. So now there are 15 relationships between the surviving brother and the widow that will exempt not only her but also her co-wives. Okay, Potros Tzarasein, but Tzarasein, and furthermore, their co-wives who are pater thus will also be pater their co-wives down the line. Now we're going to see in Mishna base how exactly that happens, but for the moment we're going to just look at the relationships between the dead man and his between the widow and the surviving brother that will exempt them from Yibon. Okay. So it's possible for a man to marry his brother's daughter. That's not one of the arayas. He's not allowed to. So he's not allowed to marry his father's sister, but he is allowed to marry his brother's daughter. Okay. So a man cannot marry. He's not allowed to marry his aunt, but he is allowed to marry his niece. Okay, so it's not a symmetrical relationship there. Okay, so if the dead brother had married the surviving brother's daughter, then obviously he can't marry his own daughter. Okay, or basbito, similarly his granddaughter. Basbeno, whether through his daughter or through his son. Bas ishto, now if it's the daughter of his wife. So let's say Reuven, the surviving brother, has got he marries a woman, and his wife had a daughter from a previous marriage. Now Shimon, Reuven's brother, marries the daughter, so that daughter is asked to Reuven, not to Shimon. But if Shimon dies, then Reuven is not allowed to marry his wife's daughter, ubas bana ubas bita, nor her granddaughter through her son or her daughter. Okay, Chamosa, his mother-in-law. Okay, so Reuven can't marry his mother-in-law. Shimon's allowed to marry his mother-in-law, but of course he's not allowed to. If she falls to Yibum, he's not allowed to marry her. Aim Chamosa, similarly, his wife's grandmother, whether through her father or through her mother. Aim Chamiv. Then there's Achoso Me'imo. What about his sister through his mother? Okay, now it's possible. Yibum works between two brothers who are connected through their father. So even a half brother through a father has a connection for Yibum, not a half brother through a mother. Now, let's say you've got Reuven and Shimon are half brothers only through their father, and Reuven's got a half sister through his mother, who's not related at all to Shimon. So Shimon could marry this other sister. Then if he dies, then Reuven is not allowed to marry her, obviously because she's his half sister. Okay. Achos me'imo. But achos imo. Furthermore, his mother's sister. If Reuven and Shimon don't share a mother, then his mother could have a sister that Shimon would be allowed to marry. Okay, Achos Ishto, also the wife of the sister of his wife. We spoke about that case. That's the case that the majority of the Mishnayos in Yevamos are going to home in on is his wife's sister. But Eshes Achiv Ma'imo, and also the wife of his brother through his mother. Okay, so if he's got a maternal half brother who had a wife who he either divorced or was widowed, and then his brother through his father married this woman, that's permitted because there's no relationship between them, but now he's not allowed to marry his brother's wife. Okay. The Eshes Achiv Shelo Haya Ba'al Olamo, and furthermore, the wife of his brother who was never alive during his lifetime. So that's so if he had an elder brother who had never been who died before he was born. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he had a wife. Okay, and before so let's say you've got a situation. Let's say Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Reuven married this woman, and so Reuven and Shimon were alive at the time. So Reuven died, and Shimon now took this woman in Yibum. Okay, then Levi is born, and then Shimon dies. Now Levi cannot marry this woman. Why? Because she was Reuven's wife before Levi was born, and there was no, and so it's just Eshes Ach. It's just his brother's wife, where there was no mitzvah of Yibum between the two of them. So therefore, she would be aser to Levi as well. Okay. Kalaso, and also his daughter-in-law. So if Reuven's son Chetzron has a wife, and Chetzron divorces her, right? And now Shimon is allowed to marry her. Reuven's brother Shimon is allowed to marry her because his nephew's wife is not an erva to him, but she's an erva to Reuven because it's his daughter-in-law. So he would not be allowed to do yibum on her. They exempt their co-wives, and their co-wives, which we'll deal with the case in the coming Mishnah, so I don't want to dive into it right now. Mina chalitza, mina yibum. There's no chalitz required, no yibum required. Ad sof ha'olam, however many iterations of the yibum and remarriage cycle we have, which we'll see in coming Mishnah. So again, v'chulam in meisu. And in all of these cases of the let's say you have multiple wives, if they died, or meyanu, or they were young and they refused marriage, so they were orphaned and they were married off midrabanan, and they did a miyun, which we've done before, or shenisgarshu, or they were divorced, or nimtu ayalonios, or they were found to be infertile, tsaraseon mutaros. Then if all of these, if the divorce or the death or the refusal or the whatever, if the marriage was invalidated before the brother died, then their co-wives are permitted to the brother who has an erva to him. But there's certain relationships, of course, where by definition you can't say that they were Ilonis or that they did Miyun, and that is his mother-in-law and or his wife's grandmother or through a father or a mother, because obviously they've had children by definition. Right. Okay, so that's so those cases are that's kind of an obvious statement from the Mishnah, but it's just pointing out that in all these relationships, we're referring to all these relationships other than the mother-in-law or the grandmother-in-law. Okay, that's it for Yevamos for today.
It has to be reviewed.
There are lots of relationships inside there, but those are all the permutations where you could legally have one brother being married to a woman, and she could fall to Yibum to his brother and be aser to him.
What happens in today's society, in Israel, for example?
We only have, first of all, we only have chalitza.
Right. Yibum would not come into play at all.
We haven't done Yibum for millennia. They even in the time of the Gemara, they abolished Yibum. Yeah, and it's still, I mean, it's still a halacha that's in effect today. As a matter of fact, I remember 15 years ago there was a case in Har Nof or something of a tragic death of a young chassan. He had a brother, but his brother was like 3 years old, so he could not do chalitza until he got older. Right. So this woman was stuck, unable to remarry until this kid brother grew up and was able to do chalitza.
Wow. That's a
tough one.
Yeah, well, and the Rebbeim couldn't do anything about that. There was nothing they could do.
Halacha d'oraisa. There was no way for her to remarry until the kid grew up.
That's as bad as having someone who won't give a get. That's just like his saying.
Except that the kid will say, "I'll do it," but they won't. But at least there was a zman katzur there that she could know that, okay, in 10 years' time, I'll be able to do this. I'll be able to get remarried.
Because he would only be 13 at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Rosh Hashanah, correct?
No, Moed Katan.
Oh, put that back over here. I don't know what's more confusing, the Mishnah or which one we're doing. Okay, all right. Moed Katan. Gimel Zayin?
Gimel Zayin.
Okay. If one opens his barrel or begins using his dough for festival needs.
No, then no, you're in Chagiga.
Do I do that every day?
Yeah.
Because it's a double. At least you agree with me. Okay. Okay. Garments may not be rent, shoulders may not be bared, and the mourner's meal may not be served, except by relatives of the deceased. The mourner's meal is only served on a set-up bed. We may not bring food to the house of the mourning, neither on a tray, nor on a salver, nor on a decorative basket, but only in plain baskets. We do not say the mourner's blessing during Chol Moed, but we stand in rows and offer consolation, and then dismiss the public. We do not set down the bier in the street so as not to encourage eulogies. The biers of women are never set down out of respect. Women may sing dirges during Chol Moed, but may not clap. Yishmael says those near the bier may clap. On Rosh Chodesh, Chanukah, and Purim, they may sing dirges and clap on any of these days, but they may not engage in responsive wailing. Once the deceased is buried, they may neither sing dirges nor clap. What is meant by dirges? They all lament in unison. And what is meant by wailing? That one speaks and the others respond after her, as the verse states, and teach your daughters a lament, and each woman shall teach her neighbor a wailing. However, as regards the future, the verse states, he will destroy death forever, and my Lord Hashem Elohim will wipe tears from upon him, his face, and will remove the shame of his people from the entire earth, for Hashem has spoken. Okay.
Hadran Alach Maseches Moed Katan.
Now we're starting, you said we're starting Moed Katan again?
No, Chagiga.
Chagiga again, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Rosh Hashanah. Daled Ches.
Did anyone stay, by the way? Did anyone stay for the Mishnah?
No.
All right, Daled Ches. For the shofar of Rosh Hashanah, they may not go beyond the Sabbath boundary, nor may they remove a heap of stones or debris from it, nor may they climb a tree, nor may they ride an animal, nor may they swim on the water, nor may they serve it whether within an implement that is prohibited under rabbinic law, or with an implement that is prohibited by the Torah through a negative commandment. But if one wishes to put water or wine into it, he may do so. One should not prevent children from blowing the shofar. Rather, one may occupy himself with them until they learn to blow. One who practices has not discharged his obligation, and one who hears the shofar being blown from one who practices has not discharged his obligation. The order of the shofar blasts are 3 sets of 3 blasts each. The duration of the tiyah is like 3 teruahs. The duration of the teruah is like 3 quavers. If he blew the first tekiah and prolonged the second tekiah for the duration of 2 kiyos, it counts as 1. If one recited the blessings and later a shofar became available to him, he should blow tekiah, tekiah 3 times. Just as the chazan is obligated, so is every individual obligated. And Rabbi Gamliel says the chazan discharges the congregation's obligation. Hey. Something the matter? You look confused.
I'm just looking for the place in my browser over here.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's it.
Rosh Hashanah.
Hadran Alach Maseches Rosh Hashanah. Wow, that's 3 siyumim in one day.
Are we adding a new one now for Rosh Hashanah tomorrow?
So now we're going on to Tanis.
Tanis, okay.
One Mishna from Tanis.
Sachem. Oh. Can I find it? Oh, come on. How does it say the? For when do we mention the powers of rain? Reb Eliezer says from when the first Yom Tov of the festival. Reb Yeshua says from the last Yom Tov of the festival. Reb Yeshua said to him, since rain is but a symptom of a curse during the festival, why mention it? Reb Eliezer replied to him, I too did not say to request rain, but merely to mention. He causes the rain to blow and the wind to fall in its proper season. He responded, if so, one should always mention the powers of rain.
All right, Adkan. Next. Pesachim. Zayin Yud Gimel.
Yud Gimel, right? Okay. If 2 groups are eating in the same house, one group may turn in one direction and eat, and the other group may turn in another direction and eat with the kettle between them. When the waiter stands up to mix the wine, he must close his mouth and turn his face until he gets back to his own group. Then he eats. The bride may turn away a face and eat. A woman, during the time she resides in her husband's house, if her husband slaughtered a Pesach on her behalf and her father slaughtered a Pesach on her behalf, she eats from the Pesach of her husband. If she went to spend the first festival in her father's house, if her father slaughtered on her behalf and her husband slaughtered on her behalf, she may eat in whichever place she desires. An orphan for whom guardian slaughtered may eat in whichever place he desires. A slave belonging to 2 partners may not eat from either of them. One who is half slave and a half free may not eat from his masters. One who says to a slave, go out and slaughter the Pesach offering for me. If he slaughtered a kid, he may eat of it. If he slaughtered a lamb, he may eat of it. If he slaughtered both a kid and a lamb, he must eat of the first. If he forgot what his master told him, what should he do? Let him slaughter a lamb and a kid and say, if my master told me to slaughter a kid, let the kid be his and the lamb mine. And if my master told me to slaughter a lamb, let the lamb be his and the kid mine. If his master forgot what he had told him, both go forth to the place of burning and they are exempt from participating in the second Pesach. If one says to us, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to have to be working on. Oh, what has happened there? Okay, so in Kilayim.
Kilayim, okay. Kilayim, okay. Kilayim, Zion, that's right.
Zion Ches, yeah.
Okay. Perforated plant pot renders forbidden in a vineyard, but one that is not perforated does not render forbidden. Reb Shimon, however, says both are unlawful, yet they are not rendered forbidden. If one carries a perforated plant pot to a vineyard, if he increased by 1/200th, it's forbidden. Okay. Something happened here. Am I missing page? No, I'm missing pages. Oh, here we go. All right. Vineyard kalayim may neither be sown nor maintained, and it is forbidden to derive any benefit from it. Seed kalayim may neither be sown nor maintained, but it is permitted to eat it, and of course to derive benefit from it. Any benefit may be derived from kalayim garments, and it is only forbidden to wear them. It is permitted to wear kalayim animals, and it is only forbidden to breed them. Animal kalayim may not be paired nor with the other, one with the other. And a domestic animal with a domestic animal, a wild animal with a wild animal, a domestic animal with a wild animal with a domestic animal, unclean with unclean, clean with clean, unclean with clean, and clean with unclean are forbidden to plow, to draw, and to drive.
Right, in terms of mixing, in terms of the plowing kilaim. Okay, now kalim yudches.
Regarding a leg of a bed that was tamei midras and one connected it to a bed, the entire bed becomes tamei midras. If the leg is removed, it is tamei midras, and the bed is tamei due to contact with the midras chazav. Right, right. If the leg was tamei with 7-day tumah and one connected it to a bed, the entire bed becomes tamei with 7-day tumah. If the leg is removed, it is tamei with a 7-day tumah, and the bed is tamei with evening tumah. If the leg was tamei with evening tumah and one connected it to a bed, the entire bed becomes tamei with evening tumah, and if the leg is removed, it is tamei with evening tumah, and the bed is tahor. The same rulings apply to the prong of a pitchfork.
So it becomes, while it's attached, it has the higher tumah, but once you remove it again, it's just tamei from contact with the previous
one. Okay.
one.
Regarding the filling consisting of 4 utensils, if one separated the first compartment and then repaired it, it's tamei with corpse tumah, and the same applies to the second compartment. If the same applies to the third compartment, if he separated the fourth one, the tefillin is tahor from corpse tumah, but is tamei with tumah due to contact with tamei tumah. If he went back to the first compartment and separated it and then repaired it, it's tamei due to contact, and the same applies to the second compartment. If he separated the third compartment, the entire tefillin is tahor, because the fourth one is only tamei as a result of contact, and an object contaminated through contact with an avatuma cannot create tumah through contact with the utensil.
Right.
So how do we fix it?
Kalim can only transmit tumah to one level. It can't transmit down 2 levels in kalim. Kalim, the most a kli can be is a rishon. It can't be a sheni.
Okay. So how do we fix the tumah on this tefillin? You can't table the tefillin, the parchment.
Well, I mean, what you could do is open it up, take out the klafim, and tovel the boxes if you wanted.
All right, so it has nothing. We're not talking about the parchment itself. We're talking about the bottom itself.
The parchment itself. The parchment itself is it's matame yadayim midivrei sofrim. Remember, we had that thing so that we didn't want people to store their truma with the scrolls. So we said that the scrolls are matame yadayim, but they're not makabel tumas oil, because it's not a kli. The parchment is not considered a kli.
Okay.
Okay, and finally Sanhedrin.
That was 3 already? Wow. Okay.
10:3.
Okay. Yevamos. The generation of the flood has no share in the world to come, nor will they stand for a judgment, as it is stated, my spirit shall not contend evermore concerning man, neither judgment nor spirit. The generation of the dispersal has no share in the world to come, as it is stated, and Hashem dispersed them from across the face of the whole earth. Hashem dispersed them in this world, and from there Hashem scattered them from the world to come. The people of Sodom have no share in the world to come, as it is stated, now the people of Sodom were wicked and sinful toward Hashem, exceedingly wicked in this world and sinful in the world to come. However, they will stand for judgment. The Nehemiah says, neither these nor those will stand for judgment, as it is stated, therefore the wicked shall not stand for judgment, nor the sinful in the congregation of the righteous, and therefore the wicked shall not stand for judgment. This is the generation of the flood, nor the sinful in the congregation of the righteous. These are the people of Sodom. They said to him, they shall not stand in the congregation of the righteous, but they shall stand in the congregation of the sinful. The spies have no share in the world to come, as it is stated, and the men who brought out an evil report about the land died in a plague before Hashem. They died in this world and in a plague and in the world to come. The generation of the wilderness has no share in the world to come, and they will not stand for judgment, as it is stated, in this wilderness, as it is stated, and he sent them to another land of this day. Just as this day goes never to return, so they go never to return. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer says, just as the day darkens and then becomes light, so the 10 tribes for whom it became dark shall have a future that becomes light for them. The people of an apostate town have no share in the world to come, as it says, they went out wicked men from your midst, and they led astray the inhabitants of their town.
Did you skip one? I think. What about Adas Korach?
Yeah. I think I turned 2 pages. All right, so let me just go back a second. It says the people of Sodom have no share in the world to come. It's stated that the people of Sodom were wicked and sinful toward Hashem, exceedingly wicked in this world. And
we're not. We long past Sodom.
I know. However, they will stand for judgment. They shall be consumed, and there they shall die. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer says, concerning them, it is stated, gather to me, my devout ones, those who seal the covenant with me by sacrifice. The congregation of Korach is not destined to arise, as it is stated, and the land covered them over in this world, and they were lost or missed the congregation in the world to come. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Eliezer says, concerning them, it is stated, Hashem kills and brings to life, he lowers into the grave and brings up. The 10 tribes are not destined to return, as it is stated, and he sent them down to another land of this day. Just as this day goes never to return, so they never go to return. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Eliezer says, just as the day darkens and then becomes light, so the 10 tribes for whom it became dark shall have a future that becomes light for them. The people of an apostate town have no share in the world to come, as it is stated, they went out wicked men from your midst, and they led astray the inhabitants of their town. They are not beheaded unless those that led them astray are from the town and the tribe, unless the majority of the town have been led astray, and unless they have been led astray by men. If they were led astray by women and children, as only a minority was led astray, or if they was leading them astray were from outside the town, they are treated as individuals. They require 2 witnesses and a warning for each one. This is the stringency of individuals over a multitude of individuals. This is the stringency of individuals. Over a multitude, individuals are stoned, therefore their property is spared, and the multitude are beheaded, therefore their property is forfeit. Okay.
One more.
You shall surely smite, etc. The donkey train or the camel caravan, which passes from place to place, saves it. Destroy it and all that is in it. From there they have derived that the possessions of the righteous which are forfeit, while those who are outside it are saved, and those of the wicked, whether within or without, are forfeit. All right. Okay.
That's us.
Did we skip